Hey y'all, welcome to the 12 plus 1 episode of the Yarn This podcast. Why 12 plus 1? Because I hate the number 13. I'm not superstitious, or as my husband says, even a little stitious. I just wasn't crazy about being 13, 7th grade. It's just not the best time in most people's life. And I realized at 13 that 12 was actually a much better year. And so at that point, 12 became my favorite number, and I've never been fond of 13. During the year 2013, unless it was some kind of document, a legal document or a check or something where it had to be the actual year, I wrote 2012 plus 1, which was my mom's idea. I said, I don't want to have to put 2013 on anything. She said, then write 2012 plus 1. So that's what I did, and that's why this is the 12 plus 1 episode. I'm Shama, by the way, Jessie's Girl 84 on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find my Yarn This podcast groups on Facebook and Ravelry. If this is your first time, thanks for giving me a chance. And if you're a returning Yarnie, thanks for coming back. If you watched the last episode, I was trying to come up with a name for my friends that watch my podcast. And I asked for suggestions, and my friend Erin, Collie and Stitch Girl on Ravelry, gave me the suggestion Yarnies. And so from here on, y'all be my Yarnies. I thought it was really, really cute. Anyway, today's segments are going to include Puppy Love, my works in progress, Another One Bites the Dust, my FOs, the final countdown, my upcoming projects, and I'm going to kind of talk about an overview of some of the things that I want to accomplish for the year, which will change because it always does. But anyway, You Spin Me Right Round, spinning. We Are Family, talking about the Houston Fiber Festival, Dyers, other podcasters, knitting friends, and any upcoming events. Things that make you go, knitting terms that you may or may not know, and 1 week miscellaneous things about my life. I had intended to record this last week before the Houston Fiber Festival, and everything just kind of got crazy. And then I had a busy weekend with the Fiber Festival and some company, which I'll talk about later. And so I'm almost a week late. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. Okay, first of all, let's talk about my works in progress, my puppy love. When I did my notes last week, I was only working on 2 projects, and I've since started a 3rd. So I'll talk about the first thing, here's my bag. My Peppermint Mocha socks, and y'all have seen the finished one before. This is CC Almond's pattern, her Peppermint Mocha pattern, and the yarn is by Kim Marie's Knit Knacks, and it's her Peppermint Mocha on a 75-25 base. And, I should have gotten this stuff kind of organized before, sorry. So I cast on for my second sock, and here it is. I'm not terribly far, but I would like to get at least to the heel, and maybe finished by the 4th, because tomorrow my husband is off, and I have knitting group tomorrow night, but we'll probably be home watching TV most of the day tomorrow. Friday I don't have much to do. Saturday I don't have much to do. Sundays usually, I have worship on Sundays, and then I usually take a nap. And then Monday's the 4th, and even though my husband won't be off, I'll probably just sit around watching TV all day and knitting. So I should have this sock finished way before the 14th episode. Anyway, so that's one of the things that's on my needles. The other thing that's on my needles is the Rainbow Unicorn Party Shawl, by, hang on, here it is, by Kathleen Dames. Since I didn't have this in my show notes, I went ahead and just pulled it up. This is all I've done on it so far, but let me tell you something. I am loving this yarn and this project, and this looks, as usual, my lighting does not show this off. This is amazing. Bright rainbow Well, that's a little better. Beautiful yarn. And it's very exciting. And, of course, it sparkles. Here's the cake, which I love this. I started this on Worldwide Knit in Public Day, which is something else I'm going to talk about too. You just knit into the front and back of, you know what? This is a paid-for pattern. Never mind. Anyway, this yarn is by Kim Marie's Knit Next, and I'm knitting this on size 6 4.0 millimeter needles. This is a fingering weight yarn, and this was a shawl that I first saw knitted by Cece Allman, Java Pearl from the Geeky Girls Knits podcast, and I bought this yarn from Kim at the Yellow Rose Fiber Festival back in April, and I bought it because it's Rainbow Connection, and I love rainbows, and I love sparkles, and I love the Muppets. So I figured it would be a pair of socks, maybe a sockhead hat, and I think I even might have said that on the podcast. But then when I saw the Unicorn Party shawl, I mean, what are you going to do with Unicorn Party but have rainbows? And I've named mine Unicorn and Rainbows shawl. It's probably going to take me a few weeks just because it's garter stitch, and even though I love it, I'm also working on other things, and you can do so much garter stitch and then you need to take a break, maybe for something a little more challenging. This isn't difficult, but you do have to think about it. And the last thing I'm working on, I didn't think I was ever going to do. I've been seeing these things worked on for a while now, and there are two reasons I didn't think I was going to do one of these. One is, I figured it's going to take me forever to do this, and I just don't want to deal with it. And the other reason is because I didn't like mitered squares. I know, I'm sorry, but for some reason I didn't until the other day. Another thing that I'm going to talk about later, and I've already kind of talked about, is the Knitting Broomstick podcast. And she's Vegan Jilly on Ravelry, and she's knitting a Cozy Memories blanket, along with, half the knitting world. But I was looking at hers, and she would get so excited about, I loved knitting these socks with this particular yarn, and now I get to add it into my Cozy Memories blanket, and I love this, and I'm so excited. So I decided that I guess I would cast one on for myself, because I do have quite a bit of leftover sock yarn, and not just for socks, but when you knit the, I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull it. When you knit fingering weight shawls or sweaters, which I've never knit a fingering weight sweater yet. Anyway, so I have quite a bit extra, plus I have a few mini skeins, and I may have acquired another few over the weekend. And now my knitting group is wanting to do a mini skein swap, so I'm really excited about this. Anyway, so I cast on last week for my Cozy Memories blanket that I've named my Happy Knitting Memories, because I love everything I knit. Even if I get tired of it, you have special memories, and you've worked on something, and you've put your heart and soul into it, and it just leaves for me a lot of happy memories. So once I started, the first square seemed to take forever. And then the second square took quite a while, and then the third square went really fast. And then this morning I cast on for the fourth square and finished it. And while I was out picking up my son from work, I've bound off for the fourth one. And I thought, oh no, I don't have my bag of scraps with me. What am I going to do? Well, I had a skein of yarn that I'm going to use for a project later, but it's fingering weight. And I went ahead and cast on with it because I am obsessed now. And this is all I've got. This is from a pair of socks that I did, and the yarn is Done Roving Feet, I believe, and I've talked to you about these before, and the Anemone Windflower, and I knitted my socks at the Indy 500 out of this yarn, but this has not got any nylon in it at all, so I didn't wear those socks very long before the soles. I turned them over one day to check them, and the soles were just, there's really nothing I can do to save them. I might even frog them eventually and reuse the yarn, because I do love that yarn, and maybe I could add it with something else and do a shawl. But anyway, with what I had left, some of my scraps, I went ahead and did this square, and I love it. And again, the pink is not as bright on this camera as it is in real life. Then the second one I did is Bernada Yarns Dreamweaver, and I knit this into my Color Affection shawl. This was my third color. The next square I did was this one. I kind of think this was also for my Color Affection shawl. And you know what? I didn't write down what this was. I said I was going to keep up a list, and I'm only on my 5th square, and I'm already losing track. And this one is from my, let me go back. I just knit these socks. They were from some yarn that I got at Mass Avenue Knits in Indianapolis. Not this year, but the last time I went to them 2 years ago. And they're not a super fancy yarn. I call these my Neon Happy Feet socks. I did those back in last summer. Almost a year ago I started them. And this was out of Plymouth Yarn Neon Now in the lime and navy. And it has some hot pink in it. And I didn't quite get to the hot pink. But anyway, this was the one that I finished up today. Yes, this is the one I finished up today. And then I cast on. This is MCN, and I showed this to y'all last time. I got this on the trip and at the little yarn shop in Zionsville, Indiana. This is, Zen Yarn Garden Serenity in the Tranquility colorway, and this is the skein of yarn, and I'm going to knit the Raina shawl out of it. But since I was sitting in the car and I had like 30 seconds to kill, I had to cast on for another square. So yeah, I'm obsessed. Here is my little bag of yarn scraps, which, I mean, some of them I don't ever use up nearly what you're supposed to in a project. And I have some like this much from my Christmas socks. That's quite a bit. This from my Harry Potter, I can't remember what the name was. I knit these a few years ago. Anyway, so I have a lot of like little cakes of yarn. So I can do some sharing with friends, and I can use some of this for my own blanket. But anyway, so that's in this bag. And as I get through with a skein or some of my scraps, I'm dropping them down into this Whataburger bag. My younger son worked at Whataburger for a while and gave me this bag. And I put it with my knitting bags, and then I thought, oh, this will be perfect to put my already used scraps in. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you what I acquired this weekend, and there are going to be a lot more squares going into my Cozy Memories blanket from what I acquired this weekend. So anyway, those are the 3 projects that I'm currently working on. Okay. So what I had finished as of last week, I thought I'd shown this to y'all. Kim had asked me to knit a sample for the Houston Fiber Festival. And she gave me a skein of her yarn to use. And it's Area 51 by Kim Marie. Kim Marie's Knit Knacks. Kim Marie 73, sorry. This is a DK weight yarn. I used size 8 5mm needles. I don't remember what the yarn content is. Anyway, and I used the Quaker Yarn Stretcher Boomerang by Susan Ashcroft for the pattern. And I had some left over, but not a ton. But man, I love this yarn. I love the colors. It's just beautiful and a lot of fun to work with. And this is a squishy shawl. This was our display, on display last weekend for people to see what her Area 51 yarn looked like. And people love that yarn. But then when it was over, she said I could just take it and wear it until the next Fiber Festival, which isn't until hers. She'll be going to Georgia in September. I won't be able to go with her to that show, unfortunately. But I'll have to share this again with her then, but that's okay. This is actually hers. So, and the other thing that I had finished up was the Mischievous Minions set. Y'all had already seen, I believe the hat is what I'd done first, but I also finished up. This is what happens when I do my show notes a week early. I have to go back. Sorry, y'all. Okay, yeah. I had knit the hat before we went to Indiana, and then I had started and really basically finished the slippers except for the eyes, but then I didn't get back to them for a while, and then I had the mittens that I wanted to do. So I finally got those done, and the other mitten is not in this picture because I took this picture when I had just finished. There we go. And they were delivered this morning to the mom of the baby, and she is so excited. Bless her heart. She was so grateful for me having done this. And, I mean, it's such an easy project. It's kind of a shameful thing to be thanked for it, but anyway, here are the mittens completed. It's a lot of fun to knit. Like I said, I've done those before. I think I did like 7 in a couple of months one year for my nephews and my sister-in-law and my niece, and then a friend of mine had asked me to knit some for her as well. So those are finished and in the hands of the family. And if I happen to get a picture of him wearing them, even though they're kind of big for him just yet, I will definitely be showing that to y'all and posting it on the Ravelry page. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is my upcoming projects. I believe that I talked about last time the knit-along, yes, on the Knitting Broomstick with Vegan Jilly, that she's doing. She's got so many knit-alongs. This girl is crazy, and I'm going to talk about her in a minute. I absolutely am obsessed with her. Okay, I got to quit talking about that and get back to what I'm talking about. She's having a year-long knit-along for the Coffee with Cece book, which y'all may have heard me speak of like 30,000 times so far. Sorry. Here it is. Coffee with Cece. I so far have completed the French Vanilla Cappuccino socks, which are her basic vanilla socks. I've completed the Espresso Macchiato socks. Y'all saw those last time. Those are my R2D2 and C3PO socks. And then these are my Peppermint Mocha, so once I finish, I'll be halfway through the socks in this book. The others are her Caramel Latte socks. Her, right there. I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice, or pumpkin spice socks. Her Strawberries and Cream, right there. And then, of course, the Coffee Date shawl. And last time I showed y'all the yarn I'm going to use for the Coffee Date shawl. It's from Lolo Did It. I'm using her Professor Plum and Blackberry jam, I think. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Lauren, if I messed that up. And I bought some yarn this weekend that will do the Strawberries and Cream and Frappe and the I Love You More, no, the Caramel Latte socks. But let me see if I can find the I Love You More Than, hang on just a minute, I'm going to get this yarn I want to show y'all. Okay, sorry for being so disorganized. Anyway, so here's a bigger picture of the I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice socks. They're cabled. I like the way she did one color for the main part of the sock, and then the cuff, toe, and heel are different, and then she switched them on the other. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Several years ago, I bought a pattern, and it was coffee beans, I believe, in Tarja. Well, maybe not in Tarja. Maybe it was Fair Isle. But anyway, my mom bought me the yarn, and it had this corrugated ribbing, and I just couldn't get it started, and then I never got back to it. But I've kept the yarn all these years, and I wanted to start, and I lost the ball band for this. But anyway, so this is the yarn I'm going to use to knit the I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice. This blue, You can see it's got some shades of blue in there. And this Spud and Chloe fine sock, which is 80% wool and 20% silk. Oh. You know what? I can't use this. This was before I realized the importance of nylon. And now that I'm looking at this, I realize I can't use it. Well, I guess I'll have to get some more yarn. Okay, well, so much for that, because I don't want them to wear out like I did the other pair I just talked about. But that's okay. I've got the shawl and the other 2 socks, and I'll come up with something for the pumpkin spice latte socks. Anyway, also, Vegan Jilly, Knitting Broomstick Podcast, came up with, was showing a pattern that she had knitted in a mystery knit along a few months ago, because I'm just now catching up with her. And it was called The Bow Ties Are Cool, because she loves Doctor Who maybe even more than I do, which is insane. And I'm trying to see if I can get a picture where you can kind of see the bow ties a little better. Yeah. Okay. So here is one that someone knit up right here. And I got the yarn for that over the weekend. I'll show you that in a minute. Here are the bow ties. But she had a sale. This was part of a package. What do you call it? I'm sorry. Anyway, a group of patterns that went together. And so I went ahead and bought the whole thing. It was $12, which for 5 patterns is really not bad. And then she had it on sale for the whole thing for $10. And I got it. So here's the cowl. It's got the same bow ties. Here's the hat. Well, And apparently you can customize it to your favorite doctor. So here's the hat. There are also for some reason this is not wanting to work for me. I am so sorry. Here we go. Arm warmers or wristers or whatever. Oof, I really do love these. And seemed like there were some leg warmers too. But anyway, so I bought the whole set of patterns, and I'm really excited about knitting that because, you know, Doctor Who. Anyway, so that's an upcoming project in the next few months. And then another thing, and I think I may have talked about this, but I'm not sure, is the puck pattern, which again, I saw Vegan Jilly knitting, and she knit hers in Halloween colors. This is by Boo Knits, and this is one of the finished ones. Well, I ended up not getting the yarn for it this weekend, but I know what I want. I want purple and green and orange maybe, and some black or something. I want it to be very Halloween-y. Orange is not a color that I generally like very much, but when it comes to fall, yeah, I love it. So, sorry, come undone. So, I'm going to be knitting that for my Halloween shawl. Hopefully start it in September, although it looks like a really quick knit. And, I think it may be, oh, it's a DK weight, so, yeah, I should be able to get that knit up pretty quickly. But I'll be starting that sometime, you know, in the fall. Okay, I think that's all of the things that I'm going to be starting. No, there's one other thing, but I haven't picked out a pattern. My niece is going to turn 3 on the 7th of July, and she wants me to make her something, and one of her brothers suggested that I make her a lamb. So I was going through the lamb projects today on Ravelry, and I haven't picked one out yet. But that will be one of her birthday presents, and I've got a lot of, what do you call those yarns? Fuzzy. I'm sorry, y'all. I would say that I'm tired or whatever, but this is a common problem with me and has been my whole entire life since I was 6, at least. But I'm probably going to knit her a scarf that she can twirl with because she's a twirly girl. So I'll probably have those coming up. So that might slow down the knitting on my other projects a little bit, but not too much. Now, for a segment that I don't usually talk about, you spin me right round. The Tour de Fleece is starting next Tuesday. Tour de France, I'm sorry, starting next Tuesday, but so is the Tour de Fleece. No, it's the 2nd. It is the July the 2nd. It is this weekend. And I'm going to commit to spinning 15 minutes a day and just trying to improve my skills. I say this every time, and I always end up flaking out. Last summer it was just not possible because of the wreck. But this year, I'm going to do it. And if some days I get 5 or 10 minutes in, I'm sure I'll make up for it on other days. Because once I get started with my spinning, you can't see my hand, not that it matters, I kind of get into a groove. It's just when I stop, then it's like, and I don't mean stop for a minute, but I like the next day, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just knit because I love to knit. But I really do want to learn to spin, and I've got fiber. Not tons and tons, but more than I should have since I don't really spin. So anyway, I'm going to get that started, and I'm going to go for 15 minutes a day. Of course, my goal is to improve and maybe finish a yarn. We'll see. So I have a little bit on a bobbin right now, but I had barely gotten started on it. But I might go ahead and make that my first thing I do, and then try to ply it, and then go on with something else. Maybe I can get, 2 or 3 different fibers done, but maybe I'm jumping the gun. I really don't know what I'm going to be able to do. Okay, maybe I'll quit blabbing and make a little sense here. So, the next segment is things that make you go, I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and I don't really know how people feel about it. Nobody's really said. But I know when I first started knitting, there were many terms that I had never heard of. And there are people who've been knitting that sometimes say something, and I thought, I just thought everybody that knitted for a while knew that. So that's kind of what made me decide that maybe doing something like this wouldn't be a bad thing. So, today's thing that makes you go, is DPN. Those are double-pointed needles. Double-pointed needles don't have a stop on one end like straight needles do. This is a double-pointed needle. Normally you would use 4 to 5 in a project if you're doing socks or hat or sleeves. But I'm using this for my Cozy Memories blanket. So here's the other one, and I'm only using 2 for this because I'm basically using them as straights. So those are what DPNs are, double-pointed needles. And by the way, if you've never used them, give them a shot. They're great. And when you're out in public knitting on DPNs, people think you are some kind of magician. What in the world? I could never do that. I knit with 2 needles, but I couldn't do that. And you just have to explain you're knitting from one needle to another. And then you just go to the next one and knit off of it onto another. It's just the same thing. It's just that you have more of them around. It's not difficult at all. And if you have questions, you could always ask somebody on Ravelry. You could send me a message, or YouTube videos. Oh my goodness, they're always videos. I know I say that a lot, but even now I used some YouTube videos to help me get started with this, especially the joining. Even this morning, joining the last one. It's simple, but I just didn't want to have to mess up and rip out. I wanted to be able to get it right the first time. So anyway, yes, YouTube videos for everything. And I looked at a few. Some weren't as helpful as others. It's not that they weren't good, but that's why there are a lot of them. Because if you don't understand what somebody else has said, or if they didn't give quite enough information, look for something else. And you can put what you've learned on several different YouTube videos together, and you will know what you need to do. Anyway, moving on. We are family. Oh my goodness. So, Houston Fiberfest. It was amazing. There were so many people there this year. And of course, last year I was only there for part of the day on Saturday just as a shopper. This year I got to work with Kim in her booth. So we set up on Friday morning, and when the doors opened, we got to see everybody that came through. So many of our friends came through. One of my friends, Ruby, I'm sorry I don't know your Ravelry name, Ruby, but she's one of my real life friends, showed up, and I wasn't expecting her. The girls from our group. People that we've seen at other fiber festivals were there. And then, of course, you make new friends. So it was wonderful. Where are my cards? I have a little stack of business cards, not too many, that I wanted to show y'all as I talk about things. First of all, y'all have heard me talk about Allie of Savvy Skein Yarns, the Savvy Skeins podcast, and she's Savvy Skeins on Ravelry as well. Allie and her daughter Madeline were in the booth next to ours at Yellow Rose back in April. And we started talking, and they're so genuinely good and sweet. And we had a lot in common. They homeschool, and I homeschooled my boys till they graduated, and we have similar beliefs, and I've said all that. But anyway, they were coming to Houston, and they did, and I was so excited. And we made a plan for me to pick them up at their hotel on Saturday morning because her husband and 3 of her other kids were with them. And so it was just easier if I picked them up and we went to breakfast, and her family could stay at the hotel and play in the pool and whatever, and could meet her later. Plus, it gave us some time together, and I was so excited. And so I picked them up Saturday morning. We drove around. Right in the parking lot of their hotel was Starbucks, so we went and got a cup of Starbucks and headed to Cracker Barrel for breakfast. But while we were in Starbucks, I said something, and I don't remember what I said to them, and they kind of looked at each other, Allie and Madeline, and I thought, I know what's happening. They're from Oregon originally, and I said, y'all are moving back to Oregon, aren't you? And they said yes. And it seemed so silly because I've only known them since April, and I was like, y'all, I'm going to cry. But I kept it together. But I went to their booth later in the day and talked to them several times, and we had our picture taken together. And as soon as that picture was taken, the picture of us, I'm kind of got this weird smile. I started crying. And then Allie started crying. And then Madeline started crying. And, it's funny how people in the knitting world become your friends. People, and I've said this before, people that you might not have been friends with. And it's nothing against your friends. They're your knitting friends. But you might not have even had an opportunity to meet. But knitting draws us together. And I love that. I love that about knitting. We didn't live in the same town here in Texas, but we lived a whole lot closer than Oregon. Anyway, we can still talk to each other. We can send messages. We can text and call and Skype or whatever we want to do, and hopefully we can visit one another. But yeah, they're leaving Texas, and I wish them well. I think it'll be really great for their family to get back together with their own families. I can't imagine being that far from my family. So I wish them the best, and I love you 2 girls dearly, and your family is precious. So anyway, they'll be around, and I'll be getting more yarn from them. I also met some other people, but I'm going to talk about them as I go through my yarn today, because even though there were people who came through my booth, Will Knit for Yarn, she was awesome. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but Will Knit for Yarn is, and I could be even wrong about maybe Will Work for Yarn. I'm so sorry. This is why I should make out my show notes in full instead of leaving it to my ridiculous memory. But anyway, so I may have bought a few things. And I also received some amazing gifts as well. I went on the first day, and I went straight to Allie's booth. Back in April, when we first met, she had this yarn, and I've shown it to y'all before. It's her San Antonio sock yarn, and she's changing all the base names because she's leaving Texas, and she's given them more, not Oregon or even, names from the area, but just things that go with savvy. So, but this is her San Antonio sock. I'm getting one of the last ones. And this is her Mrs. Peacock colorway. And like I said, I bought one of these back in April, but it's beautiful. And I love peacocks. And I knew that I was going to want another skein for a bigger shawl. So, this will become a shawl eventually. And it's a memory. This is definitely going to go in my Happy Knitting Memories blanket, because this will be a beautiful memory of having met and spent a little time with Allie and Madeline. The other one I bought from her, I actually had looked at several times last time in April at Yellow Rose. And this is again her San Antonio sock base. And the colorway is Stellarium. It's 400 yards of 100% superwash merino. This yarn is going in my bow ties or cool shawl, because you're supposed to have a speckled yarn. And while this whole thing isn't really speckledy, really what you need is something a little more solid and something with more variegation. But you can see, oh, look at that. Look at that. It's beautiful. Colors are showing up pretty well, actually. I'm very excited to knit this up, and this will be coming up this year. Then the other yarn I bought to go with that, the girl across from us, Heather Booth across from us, had beautiful hair. She and her mom had beautifully dyed hair. And I wanted to go over and look at what she had. Her name on Ravelry is Kyla Crawford 88. And her yarn is Kyla's Lab. She had some beautiful yarn. I was talking earlier about my puck shawl, wanting it to be orange, purple, and black, or orange, purple, and green. She has a colorway called Bat Witch. It was supposed to be Bad Witch, and when her mom wrote the name on the label, she wrote Bat Witch. So it's Bat Witch, and Kim ended up with a skein of that. Anyway, she has amazingly beautiful yarns. And so I took my skein of Stellarium with me, and I was going to find the second color to go with my Bow Ties Are Cool. And Kyla got up, and she came over to me, and her mom was like, she's really good with color. So she starts pulling these yarns off the shelf, and looking at the colors. And I wouldn't have picked this one for several reasons, mainly because I wouldn't have seen how well these colors match up with the colors in the Stellarium. This is a merino sock 4-ply, and it's 75-25. And the colorway is Magical Girl. It's kind of, I guess it's a cream, maybe possibly a light gray, with these little pops of color. There's kind of a turquoisey, there's a yellow. Can you see the yellow? Where else? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Did I say there was some pink? This is a tiny little bit, but there's some pink. Can't really see that. I need more of it. Anyway, the pinks And the blue, the kind of a turquoisey blue, match perfectly with the colors in this yarn. So this is going to be my lighter sections, and this will be my speckledy darker sections. This is going to be an amazing, amazing shawl when I get it done. Okay. When did I first find Brazen Stitchery? Last year at Houston. And I got Captain Tight Pants, and I got Captain America, and I got a couple of other yarns from them, and I haven't actually used them. I actually caked up my Captain America, but I haven't used it. However, they were at Bernie, and that's where I got the yarn for my You'll Shoot Your Eye Out socks, if you recall. That yarn was amazing. I love A Christmas Story. This yarn was sparkly. I'm going to pull it up for anyone who may not have seen them. And those girls get me with their colorway names. It's like they look into my brain and they know just what colors, what names to name, what to name their colorways. Here we go. So I told them at Yellow Rose that they were evil. That's where I bought the, here we go. See, these are the, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out socks. Sparkly, sparkly, sparkly. At Yellow Rose, I bought C is for Cookie, which is blue, Cookie Monster. And I also bought Evil Witch, which is purple and red, I believe. Oh, sparkly. Well, this time I went into their booth. And I told them, I said, I don't know what y'all are doing to me, but it's bad. Look at this. And it's brighter than what you're seeing. It's very bright. Lime green, hot pink, purple, turquoise. And the name of this yarn is, can you see that? Brat Pack. Brat Pack. I went, boing. Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire. For anybody that's not aware of the Brat Pack, they were a group of actors that knitted together quite a bit, mainly in Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire in the 80s. Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy are considered the core group, but they also had other people like Robert Downey Jr. was in some stuff. Also, people like that from the Outsiders, like C. Thomas Howell and Matt Dillon, James Spader. And they even have some others that were kind of linked up with them. Kevin Bacon, Matthew Broderick, John Cryer, John Cusack, Jamie Gertz, Mary Stuart Masterson, Kiefer Sutherland, and Leah Thompson. Anyway, Brat Pack. My decade, what am I supposed to do? I cannot help but buy this yarn. This will probably be socks. Maybe sooner than later. This might be the first sock I do after I finish up my CC, Coffee with CC sock knit along. So that's that. And back in November, when Kim and I did the East Texas Fiber Festival in Lindale, Texas, there was a girl there, a very sweet girl, who had these yarns, and her yarns are called Round Table Yarns. Her name is Karen Dawn on Ravelry, and she has, I watched her first episode of her podcast. She has 3 called T-Shirts and Shawls. She's a Texas girl, and she bases all of her yarns on Knights of the Round Table. And I really took more time to look at her yarn this time and talk to her a little bit. I do want to get to know her more, though. She's amazing. She has her PhD in, oh my goodness, maybe medieval literature. She's brilliant. And she wanted to stay home with her son when he was born. And she picked up knitting and while she was working on her PhD. And so she's also got a book of patterns that goes along with this, which I'm going to have to get because they're amazing. I looked through them. Anyway, so I was thinking about my Coffee with CC sock patterns. The strawberries and cream frappe and the caramel latte have such a, the pattern in them, I think would get lost in like a variegated yarn. They might stand out a little bit in a stripy yarn, but I decided to go with something a little bit less, where it would get lost a little bit less. So the caramel latte socks, which look like this is the stitch pattern. I think I'm going to knit out of this. Oh, you can't see how bright green it is, neon-y. This is, again, like I said, Round Table Yarns by Kara and Dawn. This is her Gawain base, which is 100% superwash merino. It's a fingering weight, and the colorway is Dinadan. I hope I said that right. It's amazing, amazing. I was just blown away when I saw this, and this is one of her new colorways, I believe she said. Also, for the strawberries and cream frappe socks that look like this, I bought another one of her Gawain yarns, which is again just a superwash merino, 100% fingering weight, so it's not for socks. And this is the Ambrosius colorway. Oh, you can't really tell how purpley, kind of a winey purple and blues. Oh my goodness. Karen is brilliant, and I will be getting more of her yarns. Y'all check her out. Round Table Yarns. But I'm not through yet. On the second day, I thought I was through, and I had to go around and find one of my friends to give something to her that she had not gotten at our booth. And I found her and some of our other friends in this booth called Lazy Cat Yarn, and I'd never heard of them. Again, a Texas group. The dyer is Rebecca Dunn. Thank you. Here, I'll reach under. It's kind of, it rolled. Thank you. My son just handed me my yarn that rolled away. This is her Luminosity base. Look how sparkly that is. Look at the sparkles. Are you not mesmerized by that? Honestly, I think I'm going to knit. I actually have the pattern here. I've had this pattern for over a year now, and I keep thinking, well, I'm going to knit this because it's a cowl. It's a Doctor Who cowl. It's a TARDIS Doctor Who cowl, but I've just never gotten around to it. But when I bought this the other day, this colorway is called Time and Space. Ooh, ooh, how exciting. And this is the TARDIS cowl. Can you see that? I already have the bigger on the inside shawl that I knit for Ravelinics last summer Olympics. Good grief, yeah. Oh, you know what? This might be my Ravelinics project. Maybe bow ties are cool. Maybe the coffee date shawl. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I've got a few weeks to decide on that. So that was another one I bought. And Kim Marie's Knit Knacks, Kim Marie 73 on Ravelry, in case you didn't have that drilled into your brain yet, had a pack of mini skeins. It was a set of 7, called Roy G. Biv. Look. So red, orange, and it's very red, you just can't see. Orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Roy G. Biv. Yeah, I bought it. When I first saw it, I knew that I was going to be buying this from her. It's amazing. So those will be going into my Happy Knitting Memories blanket. And then Kim had some of her bags. And she had a drop spindle bag. I don't drop spindle. I have one. Tried it. Hated it. And then I see people like Jilly, vegan Jilly, with her beautiful spindles. And I can't remember. I will bring that up later. I will probably be getting one of these spindles from this girl. She makes beautiful spindles. I think they're acrylic, and then she uses real vegetation, sometimes glitter. Sparkly, beautiful drop spindles. Anyway, but Kim had this bag. And she had other bags made out of this yarn, but she didn't have the same lining as this one. And this goes with one of my Doctor Who shirts. So I had to get it. Look at this bag. Look at it. It's bigger on the inside. Not so much wear. Wait. Sorry. More win. Yeah. Anyway, but look at this. All the doctors. I have this shirt. And so is the lining. Look at that. Isn't that just amazing? So I bought a drop spindle bag, which meant I had to buy a drop spindle. And I found this one. It's the Cyclone drop spindle by Madlyen, MADLYEN.com. And it's actually made out of clay. Isn't that just beautiful? So I bought this one. And Kim is going to show me how to drop spindle because I don't have enough to do. I'm bored. We weren't allowed to use the B word at my house growing up. I don't know how your parents were. We didn't get punished. I know people punish their kids by making them clean or whatever. That's not my thing. I feel like if you punish your kids by making them clean, then they're not going to want to clean when they grow up. But Mom always said, you don't need to be bored. Go find something to do. And so as a consequence, I read, or I asked my mom to write out words that I could look up and write the definitions in from the dictionary on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. But anyway. So I will never ever be bored. And this is my awesome, awesome drop spindle bag by Kim Marie's Knit Knacks. Thank you, Kim. So then, of course, even though I have fiber that I've never spun up, I had to buy some fiber. Before the show opened on Saturday morning, I decided to kind of take a spin around and see what I wanted. And I went back to those girls at Brazen Stitchery. And they had a new colorway of yarn that I saw before the show on their website called Eat Crayons. Now, the colorway of the yarn is more vibrant, but once I spin this, it's going to be vibrant. So this was one. This is a Superwash Merino, 4 ounces. And this was a buy two, get one free. So I got this one, and this one is Falkland. And being the inexperienced spinner that I am, I've never ever spun Falkland. So like I said, Superwash Merino, Falkland, and this is in the Punky Monkey colorway. Punky Monkey. Look at that. The greens and the purplies and the pinks. What has happened to me in my hatred of pink? I'm in love with it now. And then the last one is a Superwash BFL. This is about 4 ounces again. In Zombie American Princess. Look at that. Look at those colors. Purple and red. And of course you have to have greens and some like grays or blacks when you're talking about zombies. Blood. Awesome. I'm so excited. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to see more spinning from me because now I have the drop spindle, I have the wheel. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be ordering this other amazing drop spindle. Another amazing drop spindle from that other girl that I will tell you about later. And then I ended up being gifted a few things. So Kim has a sister named Robin. And Robin has an Etsy shop. It's called The Sample Family. That's her shop, The Sample Family on Etsy. And she came in with gifts for us. First of all, she crocheted this amazing bag. Look at that. She just gave it to me. But that's not all. Inside was a skein of her hand-spun yarn in the Vampiric Rain colorway, and it's a super bulky. Look at that, y'all. Purples and blacks and grays and reds. Beautiful, Robin. Amazing. And then she makes her own Rolags. She made a blending board. She and her husband made a blending board. And this is also Vampiric Rain. And this is 2 ounces of Rolags. Look at these. I don't know how to spin from Rolags yet, but you can bet that I will learn how to spin Rolags. Look at these. The reds and the purples and the blacks and the gray, silvery gray color. Y'all, it's raining fiber. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 more. I don't even know. 2 ounces. 2 ounces of amazingness. And then, I know y'all are going, is it ever going to be over? Because I'm almost at an hour. Yeah, this is the longest I've ever talked. Sorry, y'all. The last thing is Kim pays us in yarn. And Annette's like, oh no, I like helping. But she ended up getting some yarn. And I decided it was hard because Kim has some amazing yarn, some amazing colors. But I had noticed when we were putting out the yarn, she has these shawl length skeins of yarn. And this is a 100% superwash merino, 822 yards. And this is in the hydrangea colorway. Y'all, I love, love, love hydrangeas. And you can't tell it because of my lighting. But this looks like the exact color of hydrangeas. I'm so excited about this. Not sure what shawl I'm going to knit with it yet. But I will be knitting this. You can believe I will be knitting it. In the meantime, I get to add it to my beautiful, beautiful yarn that all had to go in the deep freeze and come back out because of stupid moths. And as you can see right up, not good at this yet. There you go. My Miss Pac-Man pop that Kelby, my younger son, got me while we were on vacation. And I love her. I had to put her in with my stuff. So anyway, I think that, that does not wrap up what We Are Family, because I need to talk about Vegan Jilly. I've mentioned her before, even throughout this episode. She's my new podcast obsession. I am still in love with the Geeky Girls. Don't get me wrong. I still love Danny of Little Bobbins Knits. Of course, I love Suburban Stitcher, Diane, who I got to talk to again this weekend. Who else? A Mustache. And there are several others I watch too. But when I discovered Vegan Jilly through Cece Almond and discovered her Knitting Broomstick podcast, I went. And I am on almost episode 30 because I'm watching like a maniac. Binge watching. Yeah, she's great. She's funny. She's cute. She knits beautiful things. She tells you about these yarns. And that girl buys yarn. Let me tell you what. But she knits it too. She's great. So, if y'all have never watched the Knitting Broomstick podcast, I know you can get it on YouTube. And that's pretty much what I use is YouTube and then my Pocket Casts podcatcher that I use on my phone and tablets. Yeah, she's great, and you will love her, and you will laugh, and I wish I could be half the podcaster she is, and I'm trying to get better. I really am. I watch these. Not only am I entertained, and not only do I learn about more yarns and fibers and patterns, but I'm learning about, hopefully, how to be a better podcaster. So, I think I'm going to steal something from her as well. She's gotten to where she's watching new to her podcasts and talking a little bit about them. So I'm going to do that too. I'm going to try to talk about at least one new podcast to me, new to me podcast every week. And maybe we should start a board on the group about podcasts that people watch because Yeah. And like I said, she's always having